Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, joined by my wild co-host, fitness and nutrition coach, Haley Kindle. Welcome, Haley.
Let's get fired up.
Yeah, I knew she wanted to say it.
I love saying that. I love it.
Good. I'm glad. Well, this is our last episode of 2024.
Can you believe that? Okay.
What?
I feel like I'm still stuck in 2010.
Is it the year 2000? Y2K?
I'm like, nothing went past 2010. Like, I'm kind of stuck there. And now everything is like, it's already 2025. Like, I can't comprehend this.
Yeah, 2025. Wow. Okay, well, here's the thing. 2025 is going to be the best year yet.
Oh, heck yeah. Every single year is the best year yet. Every single day is the best day ever. It's just how it goes.
Okay, well, this is funny because I didn't even mean to, but I used the word yet at the end of that sentence. And the word yet was my one word, like my focus word for 2024.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Have you ever done the one word process?
Yeah, my one word was growth for 2024.
It was? Okay,
Yeah.
What did you learn from that word?
Oh my gosh. Personal growth is something that came to mind. A lot of personal growth, which in turn led to my business growing, led to my relationships flourishing. So like all around my life has really changed in 2024. I feel like I went through this really strange. So I'm in this really weird process of like, I'm still living at home and, you know, I'm transitioning into like getting married and starting my own family, and we're looking at houses and things like that. And just the mental growth that I'm going through, just coming to terms with the change that's like happening has been really eye-opening. But also, I feel like you mentioned this in the past episode, becoming really reflective at this time of year. And I definitely have been really reflective of like, wow, this next chapter is coming to fruition. Like, I'm getting old, and I'm old.
And what does that mean? Sarcopenia and osteoporosis?
Yeah, osteoporosis is around the corner, my friends.
Stop skipping years of your life. Come on.
The big 26 this year.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That is old.
Oh, my God.
You just offended so many people listening, by the way.
I'm practically 30. I'm 30.
In your mind, you're 30?
Well, you see, I'm 25 right now, right? So I'm still, I'm in the middle of my 20s. I'm fine with that. Once I hit the latter half of my 20s, I'm pretty much 30. Like, write it off. Like, let's just write this all off. You know?
No way.
Like, I'm just like, I'm 30 now. It's in my mind. My life is over. What have I done with my life?
Yeah, get your life together, will you?
I know. That's what I tried. I'm trying to do.
Okay, good job. Well, I can see growth in you.
Thank you.
And I think it's beautiful. So good job.
Thank you. It's slow and steady, but you know, I find a lot of joy in the process of becoming. I think you've mentioned that before, and I think that's where everyone's joy lies. So finding your joy in that, phenomenal, life-changing.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to do because I think often we want to gravitate to just wanting the result or the end destination that we think we want to meet our own arbitrary expectations. But really oftentimes when we end up very disappointed or frustrated or annoyed with life, it's just because we've set these expectations and it's like, why? Who told you that was how it was going to be?
Exactly.
Right?
And you know what else I found is I've had vision boards. So I've done vision boards for the past 3-ish years now. And some things on the vision boards I've accomplished, I've achieved. And I think back to when I wrote that and how excited I was. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so cool if I hit X amount of money per month, or if I hit X amount of followers and blah, 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 X amount of clients. And then I hit that. And I think like, it's like you said, it's just an arbitrary number. It doesn't change anything. I am still the same person. And so just kind of recognizing and seeing the before and after, and also recognizing like the things that are on my vision board right now, the fact that I'm not going to feel different even when I do hit those goals, it just makes you fall in love with the process so much better. Cause it's like, I know I'm going to be the same person, and it's not going to change. Like even a number in your bank account, like if you're striving to be a millionaire, you're striving to be rich in every aspect of your life, like it's just a number in your phone. That's it.
Right. And we were just talking about integrity before we got on this call.
Yeah,
And it's like, if you don't have any integrity before those wins, then you don't magically all of a sudden have it. It's something you build over time, that self
exactly.
trust, that
Yeah, and you
efficacy.
become that person who deserves it too. Another thing that I've
Do
come
you,
to
though? Do you
know.
really deserve anything?
Well, I like to think so, and my vision board likes to think so. But like just becoming that person, you have to think of like reverse engineering it, right? So you are just a manifestation of your habits and your daily rituals and your beliefs and your belief system, right? So reverse engineering,
What do
who do
you
you
mean
want?
by that? Like that is basically who you become, or what you're becoming? Just clarifying.
So what I mean by that is like who you are in terms of your habits, your beliefs, and your daily rituals. It like translates into the external world pretty much,
Yes.
right? So your health habits. If you don't have good health habits, you're not externally going to be confident. You're not externally going to be in the body that you love and, feel good in. You might not sleep good. Like it's just a manifestation of, your surroundings.
Right. It
Um,
actually just becomes what you are
yeah.
a what's the word, accumulation of your habits and routines and behaviors.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like that also is very eye opening because you can control your surroundings by changing yourself, right? So if you adopt new habits, if you adopt new rituals and you stay at that and be consistent with it and become someone of integrity who even does things even when they don't feel like it, eventually it's just a law. Like it will come into fruition, right?
Hmm.
Someone who does not um like stray away from their daily tasks for business. Like say you want to acquire a new skill. If you do that every day for like 30 minutes a day, there is no reality where at some point in the future you won't achieve that, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that this is interesting because you use the word control, and do you feel like people can become hyper focused on a want or need to control things? Because
Oh, for
I
sure.
had a mentor one time that would always use the term command, like in command, out of control. Like we're not really in control of anything, but I see what you mean by like, okay, but you're committing to this and you're sticking to it. So then
Yeah.
it's going to lead you in a certain direction. I,
Yeah.
I feel like often though, even when you're committed and disciplined, there's always going to be these blind sides, like these things that come out of the, almost come out of nowhere.
Oh,
Or
for sure.
okay, I heard something recently too that was almost like expect the trial in it. Like it's not as though, oh, I'm just going to commit to this and I'm going to do this day in, day out, and I'm just going to get into a stride and it's just going to stay that way. Because I really think it's so much more dynamic than that.
Oh, for sure. And I think it also becomes down to your or comes down to your why and why you're doing this. Cause what I've liked to think about my failures and the bumps in the road, like you mentioned, I need to go from failure to failure with the same enthusiasm. So just knowing my target, and that's why I create vision boards, is to know my target so I can look at it and say that's the end goal, that's where I'm striving towards, and whatever bump in the road is just a redirection into wherever I want, right?
That makes
And
sense.
the things on my vision board are things like freedom and wealth in every aspect of life. Like it's not something specific. It's just more of like the feeling you want to have. I want to have a family, a big family, and things like that. But like whatever redirection I get in the process of accomplishing that, I believe and trust is because either I have to learn something or it's not meant for me or there's something better meant for me.
Yeah, the lesson. I feel like seeing the lessons in everything
Yeah.
is a huge mindset shift and good.
Yeah, exactly. Going from failure to failure with the same enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh man. I feel like it's one of those things when life gets hard, it does, this is something that I've learned, and more so throughout this year, is just because things are hard or not going the way you thought they would doesn't mean doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing what you were meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I used to make the mistake in the past when it's like things weren't going well, that I was like, oh, this mustn't be what I was like meant to be doing. That is not true. Those things are not synonymous. Like no matter what, if this is kind of what you're supposed to be doing at this moment in time, it's going to be hard sometimes. It's going to be easier at other times. It's going to run smoother. It's going to be more chaotic. Like just because you have, we were just talking about before I got on this, like we had a kind of a chaotic morning as a family because we weren't as organized as we thought we were the night before. Children. Anyways, the point is, it's like if I were telling myself, oh, I guess I shouldn't have had a family because it's just chaotic all the time. Well, that's a false expectation. Do
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that kind of brings me into like goal setting too. What I do with my clients is set something called SMART goals. So, what SMART goals are, it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And you just mentioned the realistic part of it, right? So, if you don't set realistic expectations or don't expect failures to come along with it, then you get that more sense of like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm going to quit, this is not meant for me, right? So it is very important to set a realistic standard for yourself and be, real with yourself. You're a human being. Life happens. You kind of have to be flexible with it, right?
Oh, yeah. Adaptability.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to add a letter to your SMART goals
Okay.
that I learned that I think you're going to love is you add an X on the end. It's Smart X goals. The X is for execution. Execute,
Okay.
execute, execute.
Heck yeah. I
Right?
like
You
that.
set the goal, you set it smart, and then you execute. The X is
Yep.
just like reminding you of that, just in case you want to use that and add that one in.
Yeah, no, I love that. But for everyone listening or watching on YouTube, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. Um,
That is your execution goal for 2025.
subscribe to our newsletters and our YouTube. We're growing. That's our word for. I think that should be our word.
What, execute?
YouTube.
YouTube. YouTube is the fresh and fired up word for 2025. We just
Yes.
decided.
Yes, exactly. I have no idea where I was going with that.
We're going to take over YouTube. That's where you were going.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I lost my train of thought. ADHD brain.
That's okay. We were talking about integrity, but then we switched over to,
Smart goals.
I think a little bit more into like ego and pride there.
Probably. I still don't know. I don't know.
Oh, that's great. Well, but all of this is to say you set the SMART goals, and when I was adding the execution part is like that is where you keep the commitment. So you set the goal, you make it a SMART goal. Now you've made the commitment, and people will use I don't really know why people use the word resolution versus goal. I think it's just an interchangeable term. I could be wrong on that, but that's how I view it. It's like whether you're like saying this is my resolution. I think if you're setting it as more of a okay, actually, I'm thinking this. Maybe it's more like what you said with your vision board. You kind of have this broader resolution or vision that's like, okay, this is the direction I'm moving towards or wanting to move towards versus the goal is where you get really granular with what you were talking about, where you set those SMART metrics. Then the execution part is where you keep the commitment. You keep the commitment to yourself and to others.
Yeah.
So it's like you do what you say you were going to do when you said you were going to do it. And that is the hardest part, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. And it's because it's really hard to change. Like we don't like to change. Our brain doesn't like to change. It likes to be as efficient as possible, right? We think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of them we thought yesterday.
Except yours is 90,000.
Except mine is a million a minute.
I believe that.
Because I talk so fast and I don't know where I'm going with any conversation that I have. It's a skill that I need to learn, and that will be my word is
you haven't decided yet,
slow
have
down.
You? Slow down. No. We should actually maybe mention it on our next if we could share with you our new words. You should pick a word. It's having a focal word for the year is just a really helpful. Oh, it's actually just so fun. I find it fun because it shows up everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's all these like lessons, and it's interesting. I've been choosing a focus word since 2014. And I have a list of all my words, and I still find those words that I've focused on for a year in previous years. They'll pop up, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, remember like 2020, the word was,
Yeah, it's so fun to look back. But I remembered what I was going to say
Oh, okay.
regarding my vision board. So
Oh,
I
good.
like what you said. Like, my opinion of resolutions is I don't really like them when they start on January 1st. Like, I like the end of the year and the start of the year to be a reflection period of what you've accomplished and where you are going to like go
Yeah,
in the
where you
next
want to go.
year. But if you are like, oh, January 1st, I'm going to lose all these 10 pounds that I've gained all over Christmas, which you shouldn't have because if you've watched our last video, we give you really good tips.
It's true.
Rather than having it start January 1st, like, I don't know why that exists. Like, why are you postponing your goals? Like, you should be taking steps every single day, little steps towards where you want to go. And it's a continuous thing. Like, you're continuously going to grow, right? It's not, there's no end date here. So, why is there a start date kind of thing? Like, start today
Yeah.
rather than waiting till
Yeah, you're
January
just
1st.
putting it off. You're just procrastinating, which gets
Exactly.
worse. You're less likely to implement and do it the longer you ruminate on it.
Exactly. And what I found is it puts like way too much attention on it. So what I found with people who like start their gym membership on January 1st and start going to the gym, then it's this very big emphasis on going to the gym. And then when they miss it because they're trying to like change way too fast,
Or
they
way too much all at the same time.
yeah, it's just too much on their plate and you can't go from 0 to 100 in a week. And so they get really like defeated when they do miss a day or they do feel like they're getting worn down, right? And then they quit. So it's there's too much emphasis on it rather than take it slow and steady. Like, it doesn't have to be this big deal and you don't have to have this big identity shift.
Oh, and you
And
don't have to have every single detail planned
yeah,
out. I think that's a huge one
yeah,
where it's
exactly.
like, oh, I must have this full plan in place. It's like, no, just start with something. Start with those
That's
steps.
actually a form of procrastination is like
Right.
lists and planning rather than executing. Sometimes like having a plan is very important, but execution is 10 times more important and you figure it out on the way.
Yeah, oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
This is what it made me. Okay, as we were saying this, I was like, I want to remind myself and remind you guys of, yes, this reminds me of the 5 stages of change. I had to Google this because I was like, I'm not sure if I remember each one, but like the 5 stages of behavioral change. And
Mhm.
there's pre contemplation, then you go into this contemplation phase, then preparation, then action, then maintenance. So we're moving towards the action and maintenance phases. But it's I think the hardest part is to get past pre-contemplation occurs when you start hearing. So you might be listening to this podcast or you might have heard it in a couple different areas or you saw a friend and you thought, I should probably start fill in the blank. Maybe cleaning up your diet or getting to the gym. But then you move to that contemplation phase where you're like weighing the pros and cons or you could very easily be overthinking,
Yeah.
right? And that's the one that people get stuck in. Once you're in preparation phase, that's like, okay, I have my gym bag, I have whatever, I have the footwear that I need for this
Yeah.
activity.
You have the intention to go. Yeah.
Yes. And then it's actually just acting on that, right?
Yeah. And then maintenance, like
Yeah.
acting is one thing, and then you have to stay consistent with it, right? Which is a whole other thing where this is where setting your SMART goals and having realistic expectations of yourself will come into play.
Yes, I agree. And what do you find when you get to the timeline phase? When you're looking at timelines, what type of timelines do you usually go through setting with yourself or with your clients?
What do you mean, like pre-contemplation, contemplation kind of thing, or
Oh,
just like
sorry, I
overall?
was circling back because you said the realistic part of the SMART goal,
Yep.
right? And then the next one is like something time oriented or setting a timeline with your
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah. So that would depend on the goal. I genuinely like to set smaller goals. So set smaller SMART goals that are maybe like from 1 to 3 months.
Okay.
So if say someone has a goal of losing 100 pounds, rather than having, oh, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, like that's a pretty far fetch, right? Like that's pretty far out from where you are right now.
Or
Like
you
it's
could be
not
on the
far fetched.
opposite.
You
You could
can do it, but it's just very far and you can't really see yourself there yet. So I want to have my clients and everyone else like kind of believe that they can get to their goal at first. So maybe like a month to 3 months and set a goal of losing 5 pounds, losing 10 pounds, or even process goals of like
That's what I
setting,
was just going to say. I tend
yeah,
to almost always set process goals rather than outcome goals, and that
yeah,
helps so much.
yeah. I like to set a SMART goal as your outcome goal and just have that in the back of your mind, like your why and why I'm doing this. And
Makes
then the
sense.
process goals of like setting your step count or setting your water intake, setting macros or having a food diary or something like that. So, or like saying, hey, I'm going to get 3 full body workouts in a week. And that's your process goal. And then you hit those goals, and those little goals become habits. And then you hit those habits, and now you become someone who can maintain what you've just built.
Yeah, that is huge.
Yeah.
And when you tell yourself in your mind, like you have it written down, but then you also have that as a focal point in your mind, it becomes a whole lot. It's never easy, but it becomes more clear, right? It
Yes.
becomes more clear of like, where is my focus? Where are we going? Why? You brought up why. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And a lot of that we've talked about on so many episodes. A lot of the why, you're going to end up wanting to think more about quality of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, intrinsic motivation is what it's called. Having extrinsic motivation is like, I'm going to look a certain way for the boy I'm dating. And like,
That is the number one reason. Yeah.
or for somebody else. Like, I want to turn heads, I want to like make people look at me. Like, that's extrinsic motivation, and that never ever lasts. You have to do it for yourself and for you to feel better, because the longevity of your goals will not last if you're externally looking for validation.
That makes so much
Yeah.
sense. A friend just said this to me this morning. Actually, we crossed paths at the gym, and she was saying to me, "Yeah, it's amazing. My body image mindset is shifting because it was always more focused on being skinny." And she's like, I'm really actually starting. She's been lifting more weights, and she's like, I'm really starting to actually realize that if I'm too skinny, I'm not strong, or I'm not
Mm-hmm.
as strong. And that shift in strength. And I said to her, I'm like, oh yeah, I've gained 30 over the last year. I've gained 30 pounds.
Yep.
And I'm saying that, like, I'm not saying that like I'm ashamed of that. I'm saying like I feel good. I was 3 years ago, I was very skinny, and I was not strong. I did not feel strong. I did not feel like I could do everything I wanted to do. I was having a recurring back injury that was acting up from gymnastics because I didn't have enough muscle around my spine holding it where it needs to be because I have
Yeah.
a spondylolisthesis where it's the bones actually shifted forward from all the repetitive wear.
Yeah.
At my
Yeah.
L5S1, just in case people want to hear the nitty gritty science. So in other words, when I have more muscle bulk around that area of my spine, everything feels better. I can lift more, but not only just lift more in the gym, like physically lifting my child up and doing
Mm-hmm.
all the day to day, like loading the dishwasher, all of that. My back is more protective. What would happen was when I'm really skinny, I'd just be doing simple everyday things, and I'd get like shooting radiating pain down into my foot, and now my feet aren't working properly, like crazy crap like that, right? And I feel like it's crazy. It's also crazy because I'm a chiropractor, and I was still experiencing those symptoms, and they would go away if I'd get adjustments for short periods of time, but they didn't go away for a long period of time until I built that strength back up.
Yep.
And if that
Yep.
means you're going to gain weight, like body weight doing that, that's okay. It's not a bad thing if you actually feel better and you're able to do all your daily activities without radiating nerve pain or crazy amounts of inflammation or feeling overly exhausted. Like all of these symptoms that you might be having are telling you, okay, there needs to be a shift. And it just really depends for you on what end of the spectrum you are on, right? Are you
Yeah.
so low muscle mass and so skinny that your body just doesn't even have the energy to do what it needs to do?
Yeah.
Or, you might be on the opposite end of the spectrum where you are carrying around too much adipose tissue and it's putting a lot more stress on your system because you do need to get to a healthier weight. So
Yeah.
we all need to look at ourselves and go, okay, am I happy with how I feel. That's the term you use, right? Like, how are you feeling in your body, and are you able to keep up with your life or not?
Yeah. And that also brought something up for me as well, is like sometimes you have to hurt enough to change or want to change. Because I definitely relate to that story in terms of like when I was really underweight. No period, like I knew I was not healthy. And I
Yes.
think intuitively you know it. Like your digestive system is crap, your hair is falling out. Like
Your
intuitively you
skin goes
know.
nutso. You could
Yeah,
be, I've had people who are like experiencing seizures or fainting from being too
I
underweight.
developed psoriasis because I
Yep.
put my body under so much stress and now I have an autoimmune issue. Like shame
Yeah.
on me. Anyways,
Yeah, totally.
but you have to hurt enough.
Sorry,
Like,
you said shame on me and I said totally.
yeah.
I meant like that is what yeah, that is
Thank
what
you for
happened.
validating me. I appreciate you.
Oh, validated at the wrong moment, but
Yeah. But you have to hurt and just be just down bad with your own BS enough to change or make a change and shift your priority. Because for 4 years, I did not want to change. Intuitively, I knew I had to gain weight. Intuitively, I knew I had to eat more, but I was just not ready to let go of like the thinness and my body and my identity until I hit rock bottom. I'm like, okay, I'm really done feeling like crap all day every day. I can't sleep. Like this is not what life is, and I'm sick of like sacrificing my own life just for some body that no one even cares about. Like no one cares how I look. So
yeah.
the moment I stop caring is the moment the world stops caring. So
Yes.
yeah,
But
I think
they do care about how you feel, because
yeah,
if you can show up, like think about how, yeah, so many people will notice if you walk in there and be like, "Oh, how are things? Are you doing okay?" Like you might, if you're struggling,
yeah,
there's lots of intuitive caring people around you that are going to notice. Or that it might be on the opposite end, when you start to catch your stride and you're keeping your commitments to yourself and you're building that integrity and you're feeling better in your own mind and body. People also notice that. They're like, "Oh, you're looking so good." Or they're like, maybe we shouldn't always be commenting on how people look, but I think it's more that the energy you bring into the room. They're like, "Oh, how are you?" And it's like, it's a more fruitful interaction, right?
mm-hmm.
Because I think really how you feel affects the energy level that you bring into the room.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like, are you a fountain or are you a drain? And is that coming from which area of your health? And they're all intermixed, right? Mental,
Yeah.
emotional, physical, spiritual, all the ones that we talk about. Am I
Yeah.
missing any?
And that's how, and also like how you feel about yourself, right? So building confidence and building integrity, like we mentioned before, that comes with doing what you say you're going to do. And that's how you build confidence. Once you break trust with yourself, so say you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, each time you do that, you break trust with yourself and you lower your confidence level because
Yes.
you
And
don't
then you
believe that
also
you're going to do it.
start to view yourself as not trustworthy.
Yeah. And then also, um, like, what's it called? Imposter syndrome kind of comes into play too, right?
Yes. Or also projections, right? Like
Yeah.
when you start, if you have not kept those commitments to yourself or others, either way or both, you start to view yourself as not trustworthy. You start to have that imposter syndrome. And then you start to project that onto other people. So you start to go, oh, well, they must not be trustworthy either.
Yep.
And that can happen in any realm. And we all have struggles. So this is not, we've talked about it so many times about, it's not about being perfect, but it's about getting back on the train quicker. Like you're like, okay, this is where we're going. These are the goals. This is the vision board. This is what I want to accomplish, or I'm hoping to accomplish in 2025. You are going to have days where you don't keep those commitments. So what do you do at that point?
Yeah.
What do you do?
What do I do when I hit the
When
fan?
you miss a day or you just have an off day and you need to recenter?
I like to go off the rule of never missing twice. So I am allowed to miss once. I can have bad days. But the next day we are back at it. So if I
I
miss a
love
workout,
that. I have an episode from before you were my co-host, Haley. There's a
oh,
podcast episode way back if you search through, and it's called the day after rule, where what's the hardest day to get your workout in is the
Second.
day after you missed a workout that you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And
And you
so if
know
you,
what's funny too? It's not because like I'm tired. It's because mentally I want to throw in the towel. It's
yes,
just it's like, oh, I missed once. You know, screw it, throw in the towel. Why am I even doing this? And that's your hurdle. Like usually it's your mind and your mindset that's the hurdle, not necessarily the physical resistance of actually doing your workout. It's the mental resistance that you're facing.
yes. And you know what you can do with that? If you can push through physically, okay, I don't know if this is going to come across clear. I'm going to try to explain it. This is something that I do that I don't even necessarily consciously think about doing,
Mhm.
which is I might wake up in the morning and feel kind of tired or groggy. But what I will do is I will monotonously just be like, even if my eyes are closed, I'm like, I'm just going to step to the bathroom with my eyes closed. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to be like, I literally like go to the bathroom and I'm like, I'm just going to brush my teeth. I just need to brush my teeth. Oh, okay. I'm starting to wake up. I'm going to click my van starter on because it's winter here and you got to let the van run for like 10 minutes to not have the wheel be stuck because it's like minus 40. Anyways, but I'm getting really down to the nitty gritty here because there are so many mornings that I get up that I'm like, I'm so tired. But once I get to the gym, even when I'm at the gym, physically, like mentally in my mind, I'm like, I'm really sore or I'm whatever my excuse is in my mind. And I just, sometimes I leave my coat on because I'm like, it's too cold. And I just tell myself, I'm just going to take step after step with my coat on. Okay, I'm starting to warm up. Okay, I'm going to start to run. Oh, I can take my coat off.
I love the picture that our listeners are getting right now.
Do you see what I mean? No, but I'm telling you because I think there's this view of like fitness influencers and trainers, and I'm not either of those things. I'm just like a chiropractor slash, fashion
What?
developer
We're
that loves
famous
to
on
work out.
YouTube. We're
What?
famous YouTubers.
And we're also famous YouTubers. I'm a
Can't you see the
podcaster. I'm on the
plaque?
floor.
The plaque. It's right here.
Oh, and you have your plaque. Okay,
Yeah.
so the point is, I'm telling you this because when people, I get this so often where whether it's me, whether it's someone else, whether it's Haley that you're looking at and you're like, oh, but they can just do this. They're just like super disciplined. It's like, no, we literally just have mastered the like, just take that next little step. That's like, if I just do this, it'll lead
Yeah.
to the next
Yeah.
and the next. And if I'm really tired, I pick something fun to throw in my warm up. Like, what's my favorite exercise? Handstands. Everybody knows that. If you don't know that, then now you do. So I will literally, if I am really not feeling like getting into my workout, once the coat comes off and I've ran a bit and got myself started, where I pop up into a handstand, I'm like, ooh, handstands, this is fun. And I start to
Yeah.
perk up.
Yeah. So you just explained or habit stacking. And also, what I think of here is people think of it as like getting to the workout and like you're kind of taking little bites of your meal each
Yeah.
time rather than trying to swallow your whole meal all at
Yes.
once. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to take a step. And the threshold is so much lower. So it's easier to do. And then you end up at the gym and it's like, well, I'm not going to drive home.
Yeah. And it's always on those days, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go super light today. I don't feel great. And then I end up hitting like a PR on that day because I start getting
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, I know. And then your mental gets to like, you little
Yeah.
whatever. Do your workout.
Oh, by the way, okay, funny tangent from this morning. So this morning I was pretty sore. I did 3 pretty hefty workouts in a row. And I was like, I'm probably just gonna stretch and stuff today. But you know me, I love bench. I'm just funny that way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna bench a bit. I didn't do that this week. So I I set up the bench, I'm going, and I'm like, hey John, will you take a video of me? I do 2 reps, okay? I was going for 3. I'm like, I don't know how many reps I can do at this weight. So I do 2 reps and then I like get stuck at the bottom on my 3rd. So he helps it off. And then I turn around and look at the bar and I'm like, oh man, I just 2-repped 165. I was like, what? My last PR was 162.
Yeah.
Okay, but then I realized I miscalculated.
Oh,
So I
well,
was like,
no,
all
we don't
jazzed. I was
even.
like, what? I didn't even mean to do that. And then I'm like, wait a sec. I like recalculated the weight. I'm like, no, never mind. That was 145.
Oh, you should have just, played the high.
I know. But anyways, so it's fun, right? When you can just start having fun with it. And then of course we're laughing and it ends up being jokes that I have a math problem and
Yeah, don't we
all
all?
that to say, starting to find the fun in it. Like really, like
Mhm.
seriously make it fun. I that is huge. Why don't people do that? Why don't more people do that?
People don't know how to play anymore. That's what I found becoming an adult too, is like people don't.
Becoming an adult.
I've
I'm
been an
sorry to
adult for
hear.
like 7 years now, but I try not to be.
But you're stuck in 2010 or whatever in your
I'm stuck
mind.
being 10 years old, is where I am right now. I feel like I'm always and forever going to feel like my younger self, but that's fine. I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but people have lost their kind of spark and think that it's like, I don't know, maybe cringy to like kind of play around, or it's
Or
not
that you
like,
need to look grumpy and angry when you're lifting
yeah,
weights.
it's like, well, just lighten up. What are we all here for, anyways?
We are gonna have some fun. I
Exactly.
love this. So, okay. So, wrapping up this episode, we are building self trust by keeping those commitments to yourself, taking the action, getting yourself into that maintenance mode where you can actually just keep going with
Yeah.
the habits that are going to help you feel better.
Yeah. Hold on. What's your word for 2024? 5, I mean.
I don't know yet. I've just been contemplating it. I have some
Oh,
ideas. I'm not ready to
okay.
share. Do you have yours?
No.
Okay. What, you wanted to steal mine? You wanted to tell me?
No, I was just
I'll
curious.
tell you so then you can use
I
it
was
too.
curious little kid.
Yours is YouTube, apparently.
That's ours.
Oh,
Ours is different. Okay.
okay. Well, I will be expecting you to report back what your word is. So here's the thing. You are hearing this episode on December 31st, but
Happy New
it's,
Year.
yeah, Happy New Year. But we are recording it on December 19th. So I'm like, dude, I still got, what is that? Like 2 more weeks of this year?
Math. You're not very good at math. So let's not fry our brain
Can you
differently in
calculate
the
that for
morning.
me, please?
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
well,
I can't.
all I'm saying, I've got a little bit of time and I'm going to hammer down my word and then we will report it on the following episode.
Okay.
And you can do that too.
Okay.
But I
Deal.
have a feeling since we're both like squirrels, we're going to forget to tell them.
Yeah. Sometimes
We,
we remember.
we will try to remember and keep that commitment to you since we're talking about keeping commitments
Yeah.
and building integrity so
Exactly.
that you can crush your goals, your SMART goals this year of 2025.
That's right.
Yeah, let's go. Anything else to say? Are we done here?
We're done here. Mic drop.
I knew that was coming next. Make sure you share this episode with a friend, rate it, review it, and subscribe specifically to the YouTube channel and every other platform that we're on. We love and appreciate you. Be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.